Hey everyone, I'm glad you're here because what's happening in Dalton, Illinois? It's like watching a real-life political thriller. I mean, seriously, power, betrayal, downfall, and a comeback story that nobody saw coming.
Buckle up.
This one's got layers. Let's rewind to May 2021. Dalton made history. This small, mostly black town elected Tiffany Henyard as mayor, the first young black woman to ever sit in that seat. She came in strong, promising empowerment, reform, and the kind of leadership people had been waiting for. The community showed up for her. They believed in her. They hoped she'd be the one to turn things around. But just a few years later, that hope turned to disappointment and fast. Instead of fixing things, Henyard became a headline machine for all the wrong reasons. Allegations started surfacing accusing her of spending village money like it was her own. Hair bundles, designer candles, sandals, even cookware, while residents were scraping by. The mayor was allegedly treating taxpayer money like a shopping spree, and it didn't stop there. Anyone who dared to question her, she clashed with them publicly. Meeting footage showed her snapping at critics, most of whom were black residents just asking for transparency. "Y'all should be ashamed," she yelled. "Lock!" And sitting here attacking a black woman that's empowered, but no amount of shouting could quiet the heat. Investigations began. The public got louder. The pressure became impossible to ignore. And now, the shift everyone was hoping for finally happened. Dalton has a new mayor, Jason House. After months of tension and political drama behind closed doors, House officially took over. And let me tell you, this wasn't some low-key swearing in. City Hall was packed. People stood outside. The crowd, energy, electric. When Jason House placed his hand on the Bible and swore to serve the community with honesty and integrity, the room broke into cheers. One resident said, "We just watched our little village become a national moment," and they weren't wrong. Dalton's story became headline news spotlighting. Everything from mismanagement to the power of local people demanding change. Now, with Jason House in charge, the plan is clear. Restore transparency, clean house, and rebuild what was lost. Judging by the overwhelming community support, people are ready for that fresh start. And Tiffany? She's taken a hard left to Facebook. Instead of apologizing or offering real answers, she's been busy posting filtered selfies and random motivational quotes like none of it ever happened. The same person who once pulled in $347,000 a year more than the Illinois governor is now collecting nothing, no perks, no power. And if the reports are true, she didn't even save any of that money. Because here's the truth. When you chase power for the wrong reasons, it never lasts. And when it disappears, if you didn't lead with honesty and care, there's nothing left behind. No loyalty, no legacy. Just silence. But this story isn't just about Tiffany. It's a lesson in what happens when leadership fails, and what can happen when a community stands up. Dalton is wide awake now. They're done playing games. While Henyard was soaking up the spotlight, others were doing the real work behind the scenes. People like Edward, Steve, and Jason House. They weren't chasing headlines. They weren't in it for attention. They were in it for the community, for love, not for likes. And here's the twist. Jason House. He didn't even want to be mayor at first. He had the chance 4 years ago and said no. Why? Because he believed in showing up without a camera, serving without applause, giving without needing a pat on the back, while others were busy building their image. He was building trust, quietly, patiently, steadily, but eventually, things got too messy to ignore. The scandals, the dysfunction, the loss of public trust, it all boiled over. That's when Jason House finally stood up and said, "Enough is enough." And when he stood up, the people followed. Dalton doesn't just owe Jason House applause. They owe him genuine gratitude, because real leadership doesn't show up draped in designer clothes or with camera crews in tow. Sometimes it comes quietly, rolls up its sleeves, just gets to work. Now, sure, some folks will still try to spin it. They'll say, they just didn't want to see a black woman succeed. It's a go-to excuse, a tired deflection. But let's be real, it misses the actual point. Yes, being a black woman, a black man, or even a single parent can be powerful. That's identity. And identity does matter. It inspires people. It makes history. But identity alone doesn't keep you in the seat. What keeps you there is your discipline, your integrity, your ability to show up day in, day out, for the people who believed in you enough to vote you in, because the job still has to get done. In places like Dalton, Atlanta, Jackson, and Montgomery cities, built on black culture and legacy being, black can actually be an advantage. These communities are filled with strength. Once you're in the position, what matters is how you use that power. I'm from Sacramento. Unless you're in LA or Oakland, it's not easy climbing the ladder. That's why so many of us look to cities like Detroit or Atlanta, places where black leadership has made a mark. But here's the thing. Those dreams only work when the people we elect actually show up and do the work. Too often, we see folks rise into power only to drop the ball. They start chasing attention. They prioritize image over impact. And when that happens, it's always the community that suffers. We need better. We need to stop treating leadership like a hustle and start treating it like the responsibility that it is. When you're trusted with power, you honor it. You show up. You follow through. Because if we don't, we'll keep repeating this cycle. Watching our neighborhoods struggle while the ones in charge chase the spotlight. This isn't just about Tiffany Henyard. It's about leadership. Real leadership. And what we all choose to do when someone hands us a chance to lead. Because when someone votes for you, when they trust you with their future, that's not a free pass to flex. That's a duty. That's your opportunity to lift people up, not to boost your own ego. That's the difference between service and betrayal. Let what happened in Dalton be a lesson not just for one village, but for every city, every block, every district dreaming of change. When you place your trust in someone, pay close attention to what they do with it. If they misuse it, abuse it, or flip it for clout, they'll end up just like Tiffany. Title, gone. Respect, gone. Legacy, faded. What's left? Few filtered. Selfies and memories that don't matter anymore. Because if you lead with purpose, if you truly show up for your people, it can bless your life. It can elevate your name, build something lasting, and let you walk away with your head high. But only if you stay grounded, only if you stay humble. The moment you start thinking you're untouchable, that's when it all starts falling apart. Money, gone. The followers, gone. The platform, gone. Just like that. And speaking of collapse, let's talk about Kamal Woods. Yep, it's that Kamal. The same married man who allegedly got pulled into Tiffany's orbit when everything looked shiny and sweet. Back when the checks were rolling, the trips were luxurious, and the press was glowing. But now that the bank account is dry and the spotlight's dimmed, Yakamel's energy has shifted. You really think he's sticking around for microwave meals and awkward silence? Absolutely not. That man is already halfway out the door with his suitcase packed. Because here's the truth. He was never really there for her. He was there for the perks, for the photo ops, for the ride. But now that ride's over, and so is he. Because when the power fades, so do the people who were only in it for what they could take. Tiffany's not just out of office. She's out of support, out of leverage, out of time. And it hurts, but it's the fall she created for herself. That's what happens when you treat public service like a side hustle instead of a calling.